gonna let up, Frank. There she goes. Skipper! What are we gonna do now?
How much longer do you estimate we'll have to be here?
Oh, I'm a designer.
Oh, really? What, furniture?
Oh, Mr. Moran, aeroplanes. I'm an aircraft designer.
Gentlemen, I've been examining this aeroplane.
You have?
Yes, we have everything here that we need to build a new one and fly it out.
In the mid-60s, Robert Aldridge began work on a survival drama film based on the novel The Flight of the Phoenix by Ellison Trevor. There is an ongoing debate whether this was based on actual events, with claims a World War II twin-engine cargo plane crashed in the desert. In this incident, the flight mechanic was able to construct a one-engine plane that was flown with 6 crew members strapped to each wing. Others claim the film was based on the Lady Be Good aircraft that disappeared without a trace on its first mission during World War II. Investigations concluded the first-time crew failed to realise that they had overflown their airbase in a sandstorm. After continuing to fly into the desert for many hours, the crew bailed out when the plane's fuel was exhausted. The survivors left the plane and headed into the desert, attempting to walk to safety. All but one of the crew's remains were recovered between February and August 1960. The story opens to a group of passengers flying on a cargo plane. After a sudden sandstorm disables the engine, the group of men are left stranded in the middle of the Arabian desert. With the radio unusable and the survivors too far off course to be found by searchers, there is no hope of rescue. Their food supplies consist of pitted dates and only enough water for 10 to 15 days if rationed. After examining the plane, one of the passengers concludes that if they were to attach the outer sections of both wings to the left engine and the left boom, discarding the centre fuselage, the aircraft would fly. But when attempts to find a water source prove hopeless, their only chance of survival is to rebuild the craft so that she may fly again and carry them to safety. James Stewart plays our protagonist Frank Towns. Towns blames himself for the crash of the aircraft.
Cause of crash, pilot error.
This guilt leads him to take unnecessary risks in keeping the other crew members safe. We see this when he risks his own life attempting to save Cobbs,
And it's my fault. I should have watched him.
and his protectiveness over Gabrielle.
We got an injured man in there. The doctor says he can't even be moved.
Naturally, these traits designate him as our film's hero. Next to him we have Heinrich Dorfman, played by Hardy Kruger, a socially inept but talented aircraft designer. His resentment for not holding a position of authority is obvious. Though he is the smartest member aboard, his lack of social understanding rates him low in emotional intelligence. In contrast, Richard Attenborough delivers a subtler performance as Lou Moran, a man of little talent but better understanding of people. Keeping a good morale as well as harmony among the crew is essential. The importance of this job makes Moran the man on whom survival probably depends. Towns represents the old world and more especially its reluctance to join the new age. Dorfman represents the new technical age where smart thinking prevails over hard work. Tension only gets worse when Towns questions how an injured Gabrielle will be strapped to the plane wings. Dorfman bluntly explains that he will die before the aircraft flies. The film contains an explosive mix of cliché British imperialism, American heroism, and German Nazi-era engineering rationale. Though there are many educational messages, it's great entertainment if you're watching it from a purely emotional point of view. The project revolves around one man's idea, which is not universally endorsed. The pilot was in command when the group was airborne, but there are no clearly defined lines of authority for the standard group. The group of passengers defers to the pilot, who accepts the responsibility. Tension in the group is exacerbated by Dorfman's personality, which limits his ability to persuade others to buy into the project. Because the project has no charter, Dorfman has no legitimate power, even though the project is his idea. Throughout the film, several members of the group move in and out of the leadership role. Pilot Towns is the formal leader. After the crash in the desert, he assumes the role but doesn't fully rise to the challenge, allowing other members to take the position. Captain Harris, the British Army officer, occasionally asserts himself as leader with varying degrees of success. Dr. Renard gains power in the group through goodwill by caring for the wounded and understands the emotional impact of not acting. One fact is pointed out clearly in this film: teamwork is crucial to achieve success. Only Dorfman was capable of building the plane. Only Captain Harris demonstrates the capability to recognise the importance of rationing the water. Only Pilot Towns is able to fly the plane, and the rest of the group are essential for the labour involved. Principal photography started April 26, 1965 at the 20th Century Fox Studios and 20th Century Fox Ranch, California. The flying sequences were all filmed at Pilot Knob Mesa near Winter Haven, located in California's Imperial Valley. While filming in Arizona, the cast went out at night causing trouble. They would take prop dummies from set and drive around throwing them out the windows. People witnessing this believe they were actual people falling from the car. James Stewart wasn't involved to begin with, but soon joined in. It was said he jumped out of the vehicle with a prop machine gun to shoot the dummies. The police were alerted and they pulled them over, but when they saw it was James Stewart, they let them go. Peter Finch, who played Captain Harris, was a renowned alcoholic. During filming, it was director Robert Aldrich and James Stewart's futile job to try to keep Finch sober. Finch later died of a heart attack at the age of 60. When pilot Frank Towns says, "I can remember when a pilot could just take pride in getting to the destination."
I can tell you there were times when you took real pride in just getting there.
This foreshadows his mission later on in the film. James Stewart was a highly experienced pilot in real life. Having flown many missions in World War II, he was still officially in the United States Air Force Reserve when the film was made. During one scene, Heinrich Dorfman, played by Hardy Kruger, is taunted by another passenger, sarcastically asking why the Germans never won the war. Dorfman stares the man down before declaring he wasn't involved. In real life, Hardy Kruger joined the Hitler Youth at the age of 13 and was drafted into the German army at the age of 16. Director Robert Aldrich cast 2 of his children in the film. They played the first 2 casualties in the movie, killed by falling cargo during the credits, as the disabled plane is descending for its crash landing. Sadly, stunt flyer Paul Mantz was killed during filming, and the story behind this is as follows. The Phoenix's takeoff was considered too dangerous to stage at the Sandy filming location, so legendary stunt pilot Paul Mantz was asked to do a touch-and-go landing. This would mean he came in low, skimmed his landing gear along the ground, and then throttled up again to gain altitude. On the second take, as the landing gear made contact with the ground, the plane's aft boom fractured, causing the aircraft to nose into the ground and cartwheel, killing Mantz. The final credits in the film read, "It should be remembered that Paul Mantz, a fine man and brilliant flyer, gave his life in the making of this film." A remake of the film was released in 2004, starring Dennis Quaid as the pilot and Hugh Laurie as one of the passengers. The film, much like its predecessor, was a financial flop. Though while the 1965 film was critically acclaimed and currently holds a 5-star rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the remake received negative reviews. One thing I found really silly about the remake is how the crew act so unfazed about their situation. Bear in mind the temperature would be around 130 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 55 degrees Celsius, with a diet of pressed dates and little water. But in fairness, the film does have some nice visual shots. During production of the 2004 remake, a camera operator was injured by a fiberglass model. In 2009, a Los Angeles jury awarded him $3.9 million in damages for broken legs and neurological damage he received during the accident. But probably what's remembered most about the 2004 remake is a clip from a behind-the-scenes documentary, The Phoenix Diaries. In it, director John Moore can be seen screaming at the crew.
Does he not see the f***ing airplane in the sky? How can he not see the airplane in the sky? I know you can't f***ing hear! It's a f***ing wind machine! Of course you can't f***ing hear! Get a f***ing headset!
The The documentary was not included in the 2006 Blu-ray release. It's also worth mentioning the similarity between this film and the 1953 American action film The Steel Lady, in which 4 American oil company employees crash land on a North American desert. With little supplies and no radio contact, they face a slow death. This is until they find a German tank buried in the sand. The 4 men realise if they can dig it out and clean up the tank, they can use the gasoline left in the plane to drive out of the desert. Robert Aldridge said the film previewed well and everyone thought it was going to be a big hit, but it never took off commercially. Even with an all-star cast of 5 Oscar winners, the film was a financial flop. According to Fox Records, the film needed to earn $10.8 million in rentals to break even, but suffered a loss after only making $4.8.
You're wasting the cartridges. We have only 3 left.
I'm going to use 1 cartridge, ignition off, clean out the cylinders.
No!